Okay, what's up, everybody? Hopefully, this is working okay. I'm just checking it, testing it, and I haven't done videos like this in a very long time, so this video is going to be very candid, not edited. Gonna have a lot of ands and ums, I'm sure, but I want to speak to you guys from a level of just kind of going back to my old school roots of the mechanic shop. Now, if you're wondering the reason I stopped doing stuff like that was it started getting a little crazy. Got all kinds of emails, some death threats, things like that. And so I was just trying to basically, figure out what was going on. And I think just a long strung out story that we're kind of getting um, an answer to right now. And most of my videos, as I progressed in learning about kind of researching this stuff and looking at it, and if you know me, I look at the world in a different way. I don't really look at it like everybody else. I try to kind of see the symbolism behind things, how we're being coerced to do things that maybe we don't want to do, or maybe we do want to do, and we just need that push to do it. So right here, I just want to kind of reference some of my videos back in the day. I used to talk a lot about the Super Bowls, and one Super Bowl really got me popular after I said, hey, something's going to happen in the third quarter, and something did happen in the third quarter. The lights went out. We were showing a bunch of different things, and even in this little picture right here from one of my videos I did back in the day, um, I was just showing that how we have the backwards 7 and then the 11, and that's really numerology and all of this is a big thing. And let me just state this before we get started. My beliefs on this whole system is that we are just basically um, results of an equation that can go any way. We can make a decision to go right, left, backwards, front, unilaterally, up, down, whichever way we want to go. And from those decisions are the results of why we're here, why you're watching this YouTube video, why you're um, anything like that. And this is, if you're watching and you're used to me playing games, just a heads up, this is what I used to actually do on this channel. So, um, and I've converted the game stuff over to a whole different channel. But I want to get back to this. Back in the day, I used to just look at stuff and say, okay, what is the storyline that we're being told? Now, with this video, ironically, I went and I changed the name, and it had over 100 and some odd thousand views. But then YouTube, when I changed the name right here, it reset the counter and it reset when this was actually uploaded. But I want to make sure that you guys know that this was uploaded in 2018, and that was over 2 years ago. But I made it back public, and as soon as I made it back public, this all changed. I don't know why, but I just want to show you that this video was made a long time ago, and what I'm referencing now is what I'm also referencing was what I was referencing from back in the day. And back in the day, I was talking about how Beyonce here was representing the Anunnaki and the Nephilim and things like that, the giants, and how they were coming back into power. Now, also, I talked about how the female energy, the female power, was coming back into power. And as we see that, we'll talk about that here in a second, and how that references back to 20, I think it was 18 when I was talking about it. Now, the other thing is the reference to a female black power, and I truly believe that that was the original energy that was created here to start, and that's why you're seeing everything. You're seeing the division between black and white, because I believe that a lot of this is just all about duality, the duality of black and white. If people are into the Illuminati, why they do checkerboards, black and white, and how they're evenly spaced, well, they're representing the duality of what we live in, the good and the bad, the light and the dark, and yada yada. And so one of those things is with that duality, you have the male and the female. And to me, it's always been this kind of back and forth with the male and the female. Ironically, Apex Legends, which is one of the games that I came out and played with, what their new trailer for their new legend is about a male and a female constantly fighting back and forth over a gold grenade. And so it's interesting because even Apex Legend is super loaded with references and symbols, but I find it interesting how it's just all intertwined with us as human beings. So this is live, by the way, so if you want to, feel free to chat, feel free to bring things up. I don't know if I'll have anybody watching it while it's live, but I just wanted to bring this stuff up. Now, in this video that I did back in 2018, I just made screenshots of the Super Bowl. Now, this is back in the day when we talked about nuclear stuff. What's going to happen? And I always reference the fact of usually we get stuff that's foreshadowed years in advance before it happens. And once again, it goes back to the Anunnaki, the black female coming back into power, and the symbolism behind all of this. Now, one thing I did reference, and I'm going to show you here. I'm gonna try to find it. I went back to it's in one of my pictures here, and I'm trying to find it. I referenced okay, so right here, this screenshot. This was me referencing the 2020 project, and I made a video about it. And for the life of me, I cannot find where that video where this portion of the video is. And I know I referenced it because I have a screenshot of it right there. And I referenced the screenshot. So, I'm trying to find it here. See if we can find it. Okay, so here it was, right here. I was and like I said, this is all unedited, so um okay, here. This is where I brought it up. I was talking about the Anunnaki. I was talking about the symbolism, things like that. But for the life of me, I cannot. Oh, maybe this is where I was talking about it here. But I was referencing Justin Timberlake's new music video and how they were talking about "Get High Out of Vegas," how it was just one of those things to where, uh, and I try to just use resources here, and I'm gonna go back to this. So if you look, this was the 2020 experience, and I talked about how what are they referencing in 2020, and here we are, well, past 2020, luckily, but Vegas had their issues with all the COVID stuff. They shut down. It says get high out Vegas. I mean, we had all kinds of scandals. We had all kinds of stuff going on. And so I want to use this as a back reference to say that, hey, look, I was literally talking about Justin Timberlake's song, Suit and Ties, and the 2020 experience. And I even referenced it. I said, hey, what are they telling us? Because they had it written as 20 and then slash 20. So I was like, why are they referencing 2020? What's going to be a big deal? We had a lot of issues with the money, things like that. And so that was my reference to Get High Out of Vegas. Now, here's the other thing. Um, I created this video, and that's not the greatest picture of me in the world, but I basically talked about what are we being told before it actually happens. And we'll get to that here in a second because the other thing is oh, lady, I just put insurrection of the Capitol because, with things, I just wasn't 100% sure on what to look for and what to reference. But I find it very interesting. If I was um, a government and I wanted to figure out who the people against me were, I would create a problem. And what problem have we seen? To me, and I've said this in another video, which is also on my channel, to me, Trump is the equivalent of reverse psychology. If I was a government and I wanted my people to basically want me and need me, we would do what's called, what is that, Stockholm Syndrome, and basically create problems, right? Now this gets into the QAnon and everything else, but I mean, just think logically. Just think as a human being, past all the conspiracy theories of Bilderberg Group and all this other stuff, and just think logically. If I was to want to maintain my control over my people, right? As a government. And I was smart enough about it. And I had the CIA, which does counterintelligence, which does psych ops. I mean, it's proven they do all this stuff. So it's not in question of whether they do it or not. But the fact is the ever burning question is, why would my government do this to me? Why would they want to do this? Well, it's because people are human beings. Human beings have been like this from the very start. Somehow us, lower, what they call lower class, us certain sections of human beings have been told that we are lower than a king or a queen or royalty or yada yada yada. And so we've been tricked into this thought, this process of, oh well, we're excuse me, we're lower class, so we have to work, we have to do this. These people, the reason they're so good is because they're just really good at something, or they're a king and queen because they said they were appointed by God. Which, I mean, if you even go down that rabbit hole with kings and queens, it's ridiculously stupid and amazing how stupid kings and queens and royalty and all that crap are. And it's the same way. It's just looking at it differently as the government looks at themselves as kings and queens. I mean, they're up there making decisions for you and I, but the whole point of them being governing is to keep you and I at a sub level, keep us um, to a point where we're always having to grovel to get things done. And so, therefore, once they finally say, oh, okay, well, I'll give you this or I'll give you that, we're like, yay, progress. When in reality, they have enough money to do it. They have enough money to take care of the people. They have enough resources to do these things. It's just if they let us actually, if people are calling it, oh, this is our house, well, if they actually let us have it as our house, well, now we're looking to be more progressive. We're looking to go towards more progressive things. Some of us, not everybody, but um, when it comes down to it, they do not want to see progress because they make too much money off of non progress. And so one of those things is you got to figure out, okay, how am I going to create a problem? How am I going to give them a solution to where they still want me around? Because a lot of people don't want them around anymore. It's kind of like a creepy old uncle or a bad stepdad or something like that. You just want to get away from it. You want to restart. You want to move out of town. You want to move out of your own country in some points. But in order to create peace, you first have to have chaos. And we've seen this time and time again. People are like, why would our government lie to us? Well, they lie to us all the time. I mean, it's just the nature of human beings. Once again, going back to that. So I kind of got off on a tangent, but let's talk about the division of this. You're seeing whites versus blacks. You're seeing all this division, cops versus certain people, usually peaceful protesters versus the cops apparently were helping these guys in. So you're seeing all the divisions that actually exist in our world that we've been so blind to. So now we see, okay, these people are racist. We see these people are um, this way. Now, here's the conundrum that kind of gets me is the sheer fact that um, I see this as our government trying to be progressive, but at the same time trying to be balanced. So when you have people far right, far left, um, it's hard to balance that out because you have extremes to everything. Once again, it goes back to that duality. Now, as the natives say, the left wing and the right wing are still the same wings of the one bird. I mean, in order for the bird to fly, it has to have two wings. And so, whether you're right, you're left, the only way that this will ever come to a means is finding that balance in between, which people would call conservative, which I think conservative more goes towards the right, but finding a balance between the left and the right, finding uh, that balance. That's the word I'm looking for. So with this, what happens is with a problem, you got to create division. You got to create everybody. Okay, we're fighting, we're fighting, we're fighting. And then finally, you get to the point where you get tired of fighting. You get tired of people dying. You get tired of, the mass people versus the non mass people, and to where hopefully a peaceful solution will come into effect and people can come together and they can say, okay, let's find uh, a common agreement between our differences, because with human beings you're always going to have a difference. People are like, oh, I wish peace was on earth, and all this stuff, and that's honestly never going to happen. As long as human beings are on this earth, it's always going to be issues like this. Why? Because people think differently. Everybody is different. Everybody is the equation of their realities of where they came from, where they've been, things like that. And so I thought of one thing and I forgot to write it down. But this brings us into that conundrum of, okay, is our government trying to, oh, let me revert back to here, saying that this will always be like this on Earth. Now, here's the thing about the virus, right? Um, I believe it's a thing, right? I believe it's taken lives. Yes, I'm not arguing none of that, the points of that. But it's weird because if you look deeper into this, with the mask versus the no mask people, we are literally looking at each other like a virus. And I think it's Jason Momoa. I can't think of it. Jason M. He played Aquaman, I think, uh, in some of these new movies, and he even came out and said, "Hey, look, human beings are a virus to this planet." And if you think about it, technically we are. I mean, we consume, we just keep consuming until there's nothing left. And that's pretty much what a virus does. It just keeps taking over and over and over until nothing's left. Either it kills its host or it's defeated by something else. But it's ironic that, you know, the coronavirus is also kind of relating to us as human beings. And you say, well, what would you why are you calling us a virus? And I mean, if you look at us, we do the same thing as a virus would do to the planet. So I find it really, the similarities here of what's going on, really a weird little universe that's working together with itself. Now, this puts me in a conundrum because personally, I think the government is corrupt as shit. I think that a lot of things need to be changed for the better, and there's way too much money in politics. All these politicians have been bought off, and this, and that. But the other thing about it is, I think it's all been pre-planned on who wins and who doesn't, yada yada. I mean, I made a video back and I said, look, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are gonna win, and why? Because you need to, once again, it flip flops. It's finding that balance, and as we can see, it's creating a division among people. Now, the conundrum is I feel like our government is trying to push us towards a better result than what we had before. And the thing is, now you're getting fight back from the people who want it all to be the same. They don't want the government to be in control, which I get. I mean, if you think about it, we are all, beings of energy or whatever you want to say. Me, I believe, if you ask me what I believe, I'm more of an energist. I believe what people call God is also what we call energy. It can be created nor neither created nor destroyed, and it's always there. It transfers from one to the next. It never goes away. So, anyways, that's neither here nor there about what I'm talking about. But I feel like what's happening now is with the division. And this goes back to if I was a government and I wanted to know who my opposition was, I would cause a problem. And then I would let that problem get into the White House or wherever the house, whatever they got into, and then I would be like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm also in bed with all these big corp companies that track your phone and do everything. So it amazes me that as somebody who's going up against the government, they would literally not only record themselves, but they would also leave their location data on to all that stuff. They would be too dumb to realize that they need to scratch all the metadata out of all that. And but the government's like, hey, yeah, bring it on. Bring all the people here. Let them in. Let them do everything. We'll know who has guns. We'll know who was there. The hacker who scraped Parler, which Parler had a bug, a basic bug that made it super easy to hack. I mean, uh, and I'm the government and I have all these agencies that can keep track of all that. Wow, that and then somehow they just didn't have the force to keep people out. I mean, come on. That's how you figure out who the dissonants are, and then that's how you take away their guns by giving them a felony, because felons can't have guns. So you give all these people felonies, and then all the people with guns don't have guns anymore. So technically, they just let these people take their own guns away instead of taking them away like they said Obama would. But see, the thing about this is what we're talking about is a complete mind, and I'm just going to use this word, a mind fuck, literally, because these guys are playing this game of risk. That's what I call it. All these countries just play a game of risk with us as the little pieces. If you've ever played Risk, you know what I'm talking about. It's an old school game. And we fall for it. Even the left. The left is like, hey, I'll help you. I will scrounge through all this data and I will find all those people who attacked you. And I want you to be a good government and I want you to do this and that. And so they're using both sides for their advantage. I mean, it's just like when politicians get money from both sides, or like somebody donates to both sides, a Republican and a Democrat, because they know if they don't donate to both, well, if this one loses, it's it's a tax write-off or whatever, and then if this one wins, they get to say, "Oh, hey, look, I lined your pockets. Now I need your help." So it's the same concept, but I digress. I want to go back into the sheer fact of watching it while military veterans and law enforcement joined the Capitol insurrection. Through all of this, they found so much data on Parler. Hacker scrapes Parler right there, comes up, and it just, 70 terabytes of user data leaked. The hacker who archived Parler explains how she did it. And once again, it's amazing. If I was a government, I would I would be like, huh, okay, well these guys want to fight us, so let them bring everything that tells me everything about them, and we'll just take away their guns because now they're felons. I mean, literally. I mean, that was a bitch move, but it worked. And so, okay, so let's get into really what I'm interested in this. Trump for me was honestly, uh, I mean, if you think of his name, I'm just gonna put here meaning of Trump name, right? So Trump is a surname of English and German, derived from Old French. Uh, I don't know, trumpier. I don't know how to say that properly. Trumpeter, or trumpets. So if people were looking at the Bible, they'd be like, "Oh, Trump is one of the trumpets." I don't know. It's interesting, but um, if you just look up names, a lot of times you'll see. But we also Trump means to trump somebody, to change the way. Uh, like let's say I have this and I trump somebody, it means I'm over them. And so For me, Trump was just nothing but reverse psychology. He did everything that the left hated, and so that basically made the left say, okay, well, I'm going to be on the government side. And then they did everything. He did everything that the right loved, and so the right's like, I'm gonna fight for him. And if you looked at this insurrection or whatever, there were more Trump flags than American flags. I mean, it's literally a cult. So what they did with Trump is they made him a basically a cult leader. Figured out who is against the government by utilizing him as reverse psychology. Then let me rephrase that. They used him to figure out who's against the government. And then now with reverse psychology, they also used him to figure out who's with the government. And so it's this whole, I want to find out who's against me, who's on my side. And that's what Trump was basically for in layman's terms. I mean, all the things he did, even I'm just like, how do people even follow this guy? But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not going to be like, yeah, go government, make the government bigger. And even Bernie Sanders, I kind of question him. I agree he's a fighter, everything else, but politicians are politicians. They're meant to be there for a reason. And a lot of times I just think, that they are there, put there, regardless of what your vote is. And people are like, oh, rock the vote and do all these other things. Honestly, I don't feel like that even makes any difference. It's already pre-planned. So let's get into. And you say, well, why would somebody do that? Why wouldn't they give us the vote? Because everything is there's a man behind the curtain, just like in the Wizard of Oz. And when I say a man, there's somebody. I don't man, woman, whoever. Well, let's get into names. Let's kind of get into this last part, the names and meanings, and I'm going to end this and then I'm going to go play some games because I know this can be boring, but this is kind of my mindset with everything on just how I see life. I mean to break it down, humans are humans. We're a result of an immense mathematical equation that gets us from one point to the other in life, and our the way we react to life is from those events that happen in our life. What we're seeing now is we're being coerced, or we're being slowly psychopsed into either being for the government or against the government, which honestly, I think government is not a bad thing as long as it's done right. Because in order to do stuff and in order to have a balance, like the yin and the yang, you got to have it be a little bit of negative and a little bit of positive. I mean, that's how we learn. From the negative, we learn to make things positive. From the positive, we learn what negative is. And once again, it's that duality in life that we live in. So, speaking of which, symbolism, I'm going to go into names. And so when I made the other video, this one, Are We Being Told the Full Story About, and on November 3rd, right? I was driving the day, I think, of the elections. And I was driving, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to make this quick video. And the reason I say that I knew that Joe and Carmela, I want to make sure I say her name right, we're going to be picked is because Joe, look at this. Now this is weird. This is where it gets into religion and symbology, and things like that. Now, believe it or not, it's just ironic. Maybe I should just put it that it's ironic, but the name Joe means God's will. God will increase. So once again, it throws us into this conundrum. Do we want our government to help us to increase, or do we want our government to decrease us? Well, what's happened is with Trump is he's decreased us. He's brought us into this whole, oh man, whatever this cycle is. I don't even know what name to give it. And Joe, meaning God will increase, and it's short for primarily Joseph. And that's something that's interesting because they're using this short male term of God will increase, right? So we have Joe Biden, and I looked up Biden. Biden was kind of a difficult one to find because they say it was of origins of Ireland, but Biden is an Anglo-Saxon name that appears to have origins among button makers in England. The name is actually derived from French word bouton, meaning button, and so um, the other part of it, the name could also originate from the Old English word buy and done. So buy, which is your duality, two, buy means two, and done. So if you think about it, it is done. God's will, God will increase. And people are like, oh, you could be put, piecing all this together. But this is how I see the world, and this is how I see the story being played out in front of us is with these type of things because this is how the I call them the controllers every once in a while. This is how the people basically managing what's going on, controllers. This is how I see it being done because it's told to us in an event that is years in advance. And I've said this for a long time. So, but which collectively means dweller by the down. Now, by the down, I'm not 100% sure what that is referencing in, English terms. You know what? Screw it. Let's just see. So, meaning of the down in Old English. Yeah, let's go with that. In descending direction from a higher to lower place, degree or condition. Late Old English short form downwards, originally of dune from off from the hill. So who knows? Maybe Biden means down, but this is kind of how I look at life, and so just remember that Joe, God will increase, and this is weird. Dweller by the down, which is opposite. So not only will increase, but also down, and by duality and done. So, a lot of people, God's will be done. And I might be pulling straws with that one, but I'm trying to open up your mind here. Now, here's the really interesting one. In my opinion, what's going to happen is something will happen to Biden, whether he um, goes inept in some sort of his mind, of his body, of anything. If somebody tries to do something to him tomorrow over inauguration, I mean, we've already seen how people are trying to do these things, and it's being ramped up to that level. So you're seeing that they got guards, they got everything for this inauguration, and he's still going to do it outside, even though they know he's probably got all kinds of stuff after him. But it's just that's one of my things is something will eventually happen, one or the other, and that will bring into a new age of our first female president, our first female black and Indian president, which is weird because, when I was talking about this video here, I noticed that I was referencing, here's where I just want to kind of go back. I'm reversing here. Um, Here's where I talked about Trump being a reverse psychologist. This also was let's see. I saw it. Oh, this is the other one. Nope, that is the one. But I also had talked about the natives and things like that. So, um, but here, let's get back to the names. So, we've been seeing with like Standing Rock and other things like that, the natives fighting against the over militarized police, which is fucking ridiculous. I went up there when I saw the National Guard was involved because the National Guard is not to protect pipelines. I mean, that is not their job to protect corporations. Even though me being prior military, I could tell you the reason I got out was because that's pretty much what the Army does: protects rich people, protects corporations. Uh, I'm not really sure what how we're protecting the freedoms of the United States in any way, shape, or form, being on Iraq or the country that did not attack us. And anyways, I digress again, but you see my point. So here's the deal. In this video, I talked about the Anunnaki and how they were referenced, the Nephilim, the giants. In this, the twins in this, also the Gemini, which represents the duality. But with this, once again, I go back to how I was talking about the um, the female coming back into power. Now, at that time, I was hesitant to say that it was the black female to come back into power, but I did talk about how the female was coming back into power, but I did reference the fact of them being black. The more I looked at this and the more I saw things, I was like, I think the true power is coming back into power, aka the original creator of the earth. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole we could go down, which really doesn't reference this. But let's talk about Kamala Devi. Now, Kamala Devi Harris, and I hope I'm saying that right, Devi. Ironically, okay, let me go back here real quick. So, in these videos, I reference the Sumerians and how the Sumerians talk about, and this is the rabbit hole that we're going to have to go down because now I just saw something a little bit interesting about this. Is the Sumerians talk about how the devil will uh, reverse things and also drop. They say a lot of times when they're referencing things, they drop letters or they'll reverse letters, things like that, to reference something else. Now, in the case of the 2020 reference with Justin Timberlake, the 2020 experience, I halfway have to think that maybe they were referencing the 2020 experiment because they put 20/20. But here, the Sumerians actually talk about the devil being female. And nothing against women. Actually, I prefer to work with women because they're always a lot more level headed than guys. But the Sumerians, and I might lose people on this one because this is a lot of my videos past, but this is a large female in fire. And so red, black, it all has to do with Saturn. I know, once again, rabbit hole. But that's what the Sumerians talked about. They said that the original creator. Oh, hey, what? Can you hear me? Okay. This is strange. I'm talking about this. I had my headphones plugged in this whole time, and my headphones just clicked out and died. So good to see you too, Stern. Yes, I am back to my old roots, and thanks for uh, saying hi. I'll catch you a little bit later. Sorry about that. My headphones just magically died, even though I've had them plugged in all day today, which is weird, but whatever. Um, so I'm going back to my roots with this because this, and let me get back on track where I was before my headphones randomly died. Um, is that the Sumerians talked about the devil being a female. And this was text way before the Bible, way before the Egyptians, yada yada. And they talked about how the original creator of the planet was a female. Okay, now keep that in mind because now, after all this time, I think this was the 2018 Super Bowl, right? So after 2 years and we've gone through 2020 and the duality of things, now what we have is we have Kamala Devi Harris. And so this is what's interesting, and I'm just gonna put this out here because once again, like I said, they say they switch things around and they drop letters. But Kamala, right? Karma, you could look at that as karma in a way. And then, but look at this. I mean, we're one short, and I am not saying that she is a devil. Don't don't get me wrong. I'm just saying this is a very interesting find. But Kamala, Karma, and then if you look at this, and then you look at what I talked about in the 2018 deal, the Anunnaki fire female, uh, yeah, one letter short. Huh. I'm just now noticing this as I do this live. Now, here's the other thing. They talk about her Indian heritage and the wishes of her mother, now her mom and all that, but her unique name, Kamala Devi. Both her and her sister Maya were bestowed names that were drawn from Indian mythology, right? Okay. So she has an Indian mythology name with her first and middle name, right? Now Harris, not so much. Now, Kamala itself is a name that means lotus or pale red. Um, Kind of interesting that it references red because red is also a reference to what? Hell and Saturn. Red and black are Hell and Saturn. That's what the references are to that. And in Sanskrit, Kamala is another name of a well known Hindu goddess. A goddess. Oh, okay. Well, once again, we're referencing a god, and here we're referencing God will increase, who is probably better known as Lakshmi. Lakshmi. I'm not 100% sure how to say that, so I apologize for the thing. Uh, Lakshmi is the Hindu goddess of prosperity. Okay, good, good. So we have Joe, God will increase, and then Baidan, my God, we get into that, and then prosperity, good luck, and beauty, and she's often depicted with the lotus flower. Okay, cool. But here's the duality. Devi is a Hindu goddess as well. It is a Sanskrit word that means goddess. Okay, so another goddess name, but it is also the name of the Hindu mother goddess, of the Hindu mother goddess. Devi is considered to encompass womanhood completely and is a nurturing force and the protector of villages. However, she does have a fierce side and is involved in not only creating worlds, oh my God, creating worlds, but also destroying them as well. So, mind blown because 2 years ago I was talking about this. Female, creator, everything else. Now we're being shown after 2 years, and our Trump is a reverse psychology, that yes, I mean, even if you listen to um, what's her name song, God is a Woman. I can't think of her name right off the top of my head, but if you listen to that song, she's saying God is a woman, God is a woman, God is a woman, the Creator is a woman. Women in this world, right as we speak, create beings, create human beings. They're the only ones that can do it. And if you, I had a preacher say, well, they can't do it by themselves, and I'm like, yeah, they have to have a man, but at the same time, if they could scientifically create sperm to create beings, I mean, wouldn't need a man. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But it says her sister's middle name matches Kamala's. Maya's middle name is Laksh, Lakshmi. Lakshmi. Maya also is a Sanskrit name meaning illusion. So her sister's name is illusion and is another name of Durga, a Hindu goddess. So, and her mother says she chose these names for a very specific reason. A culture that worships goddesses produces strong women, she told the Los Angeles Times. It sounds like she helped raise two very strong women, one of which will be on the ballots this November. So, as you can see, this is all coming around. Like I always say in my videos, it's foreshadowing. It's been foreshadowed that Kamala was going to be selected because she is a representative of the duality. She's the representative of the women coming back into power. Hence, it sounds what is it? A culture that worships goddesses produces strong women. And we've been seeing the women's march, everything else. The women are coming back into power. Guys, sorry, that's just how it is. Women are coming back into power, whether you want it to or not. I mean, that's just how it is. And so this is the cycle of the earth is I always reference to my videos, the more I kind of see the story being told out, it's always a fight between the male and female. It's always that duality. One is trying to keep the earth. Now, in the Sumerian text, and I'm going to kind of give this some pretext, the Sumerians talk about the original creator being a male, and then the when I say the original creator, because he was married to a female, the duality once again, and that female stole the stones of fire and went, aka souls, and went and created her own version of human beings. Now, uh, the other thing is they talk about the original creator um, saying, look, this isn't right, and going around the universes that she created and destroying the earths to bring back the stones of fire. Now, the Sumerians also say that we are literally, currently, as you sit here, we are already in hell, hence created by the devil. And so, therefore, we are not in our home as we should be. So, that's why it's kind of interesting that her name references a pale red. Also, is middle name is one short of an L for devil. I mean, I didn't even recognize that till I was just doing this video. Kamala, Karma is a bit, well, I don't want to say she is. I'm just saying, the saying is karma is a bitch. And so um, it's kind of interesting because she's the opposite. We always say, oh, karma's a bitch, coming in and taking care of people who have done wrong. And apparently, hopefully, and this is what I'm hoping, is that that's what's going to happen, is karma is going to come in, take care of what's been done wrong, and right the wrongs. And so that's something that I just wanted to share with you guys because this is how I see the world. I see the world in more of code and writings and foreshadowings and of a story that's already been pre-planned. Um, and ironically, weirdly enough, I just found um, an article from a science journal that talks about how the future has already happened. It's really complicated with how they describe it, but it's kind of interesting because we're just living in this moment, you know. And so with what we're being told is, excuse me, with what we're being told is that the female is coming back into power. She is a combination of black and Indian. Ironically, we just had a lot of that fighting as Obama was leaving. The natives have been fighting for their land back because obviously the white people don't own this land. The natives were here first, and so they should be able to come back. But it's this weird conundrum because I see all these things being put together. The virus, the way they're tracking the people who are going up against them, and everything else, and so it's starting to put the whole puzzle together. It's slowly coming together. And that's the thing is I was just telling my friend, I told him, I said, look, if you look at the Marvels, uh, the movies, Marvel movies, right? I have never seen Endgame. I think that's the one where they go up against Thanos, right? But if you noticed, they threw in the Black Panther about 3/4 of the way through, and Black Panther shows up. They have the technology. They're black, and so it was one of those things to where in Endgame, from and spoiler alert if you haven't watched it, when everything seems lost and Captain America is sitting there just about wrecked and devastated from everything. And I don't know if everybody else dies or what the deal is, but I saw the part where these big portals open up, and who walks through? The Black Panther and all of their tribes and their people. And so I don't know if you've ever noticed, but in movies, black people have always been the protectors. We even saw it at the White House. The one black guy guided the people to protect the senators, the protectors. And so black people have always been referenced as protectors. And so uh, I think we are going to see a new age of a different mindset, more geared towards keeping the planet because um, the last thing, and I'm just going to put this out here because the Sumerians talked about it. The last thing the devil wants is her creation being destroyed. And so now we're going to shift over to a more greener and friendlier world because now the problem is we are the virus destroying our own hell. I know that sounds awful weird, but in order to not destroy hell ourselves, we have to stop from destroying hell. I know. It sounds really weird, but you have to watch some of my other videos to understand where I come up with that stuff. And it might sound really off, but I try to look past all the news shows and everything else, just dive deeper into meanings of stuff. And so that's why I do these videos. And I used to love doing them until they got super weird. I got death threats. I got all kinds of stuff, and so I quit. But I'm kind of back because I see this, and I'm like, oh man, this is what I was talking about 2 years ago. How Trump was the great reverse psychologist, and he's getting all the people on the left to go with the government, and then the right. I mean, we're so dumb to show up with their cameras and everything else, and just basically televise themselves into getting felonies, which ironically, as a felon, you cannot carry a gun. And so this, though, is going to, um, this is how they're going to get rid of the opposition, is because think about it. The government has the military, and the government is going to use the military to protect itself from all these guys who are out here running around that are out of shape with guns thinking they're going to create a civil war. I mean, I'm sorry, but the government has well in shape people that are under contract which is a fear contract they call it, because if they go up against it, they get thrown in jail themselves. I mean, basically they're government property once they sign that piece of paper. So it's interesting to see all of this happening because it is a total mind fuck that the psychology of it is amazing, and how people are reacting to it is just, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, if I was a lab coat person that worked in a psychology deal, this is fascinating to me. I went to school for this type of stuff, but I never, ironically, I never made it past it, but it doesn't mean that I don't understand what's going on. The reason I went into that was because I loved how the human mind thinks and how it is. It's interesting how you can shape and you can shift and you can direct and turn a person, and how they just kind of follow along, and how thinking for yourself is too hard, and if you do think for yourself, you've got to be smart about it. So that's one of the things that I'm fascinated with is if you are an insurrectionist and you're at the Capitol with your phone on tape, on video, on all this stuff, then you're just dumb. You're not using your head. If you wanted to go up against an enemy, you got to research them. You got to make sure that, I mean, what was that? The Art of War? I mean, read that book. That guy knew what he was talking about. I can't think of who that is that writes that, but you got to know your enemy inside out. And this was, to me, this was just a oh, a classic psychological play. on the right side, on the extreme right. You know. So, anyways, with everything, just know that it's crazy world out there. I'm out here just trying to survive, just like anybody else. Me, I like to be creative. Um, Oh, okay. Yeah, Martin. Yeah, I'll be gaming here in just a few minutes. Finn, uh, I'll be uh, I'll be gaming here in just a few minutes. I'm actually just finishing up, so I'll be switching over to my other channel for that stuff. But this is the type of stuff, Finn, that I originally started the mechanic shop for, was to look deeper into things. And if you go back and watch all of this stuff I'm talking about, it would make a lot more sense. But it's amazing the psychology of what's going on. And with technology as good as it is today, I mean, that was a power play by the government or whoever's running it. It's just I have to laugh because I'm like, man, if I was an insurrectionist, I would not be anywhere around there. I'd be just watching and listening and and uh, and planning that way. Cause man, you can't. That's not the anymore. You can't do it like old school. You know, you can't do it like old school. They have too much power on their side. You know, and I think government's overpowered. Fuck yeah, I do. I think they have way too much power, way too much money. I think a shit ton of them are corrupt. And at the same time, though, you know, I think there's this whole, and I gotta point to you guys this Apex Legends. Um, let's see, where's that at? Dang it, Apex, or no, let's just go to YouTube, and then we'll put in Apex Legends. Uh, what was it? I can't gold. Uh, let's see what comes up. Good as gold. There it is. So this is crazy. We're just gonna watch this for a second. But this has every. It's just amazing me how Apex Legends even plays into this. So there's the female on fire. Now the separation. Everything I'm talking about. Separation. Destroy it. So here, she thinks she killed him, right? But she blew off his right arm. I mean, an apex is, I mean, if you look at all the symbolism in Apex Legends, it's about royalty, it's about gold. I mean, it's just, it's fascinating how far into the symbolism this goes on just this game. 13. I mean, it's amazing the symbolism that you've seen in the past. So, but at the very end, guess where we see her? Right here. She's sitting in her own place. You know, and I'm sure this a lot of this has symbolism, but she's sitting in her own place on fire after she just blew off his right arm. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just how I see the world, but it to me the symbolism, the storytelling, this we're in a story. I mean, we they say the world is a stage and we are literally actors on this stage. I'm not sure if we're you know television actors. I mean, apparently it's true. You get paid more for what you do as a part of the storyline. Apparently, I'm not very much a part of the storyline. But anyway, um, I'm fascinated with this because once again here we have the female, we have the fire. She blew off his right arm. They were buddy buddy at the very beginning, and now they're torn apart. You know, an explosion tore them apart, and that's exactly how the Sumerians talk about it too. You know, they had a falling out, they had a great divorce, and this is what happens. You know, maybe not. I don't know. The symbolism of the right arm just kind of right now it's kind of interesting because that seems like what's happening over here. Now, why this is like I can relate this to America, I don't know. I don't know if we're like the experiment for all of this or what it might be. But yeah, it whoever's telling this story seems to be pretty much always the same story, always the same plot line, kind of, but a lot of foreshadowing, a lot of foreshadowing. And as you notice, this is now in color, but they start out as friends. Where is it at? They start out as friends. Let me see. In black and white. You know, and the gold is what they're fighting over. The gold. People fight over gold all the time. I mean, this is pretty typical for human beings. I mean, so many people have died because of gold, the precious metal. So it's just the storyline is crazy, you know. And he represents the, you know, I'm not sure what he represents. Let me know what you think he represents. But yeah, why does that say story in the Badlands? That's weird. There, there we go. Okay, I don't know why that said story in the Badlands. Like, I don't know why that didn't represent. Where were we talking here? But here's where I was talking. Basically, the male and female, they're sitting here. They find the gold. They're good friends until all of that happens. Here's what I was referencing: people fighting over the gold. And the crazy thing about this is the back and forth of the gold. The Sumerians also talked about how she stole the stones of fire that she found. Now, I'm guessing from the Sumerian stuff, and this is, yeah, that's true, Martin. Um, So if I look a little deeper into this, and I might be grasping at straws, but if you go back into the Sumerian stories, they say that the original creator, which was a male, And I basically refer to the creator as a scientist. I mean, that's basically what they were, on another level, not our level. So he created the original tree of life. Okay, and we're getting into a little bit of a story time here. Created the tree of life, and through that, she liked it so much that she was like, "We need to create other things." Well, he said no, and I'm just kind of generalizing here. Said we need to destroy it. Hence why God destroys the planets multiple times in the Bible. So this right here, the gold, which rhymes with soul, gold, soul. I mean, take it as you want. Um, she took this off of this body that has the hand here. Now, this is death, obviously, right? So the Sumerians said that she stole the of stones of fire, which aka soul, which is ironic because she takes the gold grenade out of this guy's hand, and I don't know why that's not changing on my deal here. Why is that not changing? Weird. Okay. Um, so you're seeing her still with the gold in her hands. Let me see if I can. Strange. There we go. Um, but he's dead. Death, right? Stones of fire. Uh, the representation of it being stolen, and she takes it. I don't know why my browser is not updating until I do this. And she takes it right there, and then they fight back and forth. She takes it, and then he steals it away. Let me find that, and then he runs away. So it's kind of it's just it's interesting to see this all being played out right here. Um, like I said, I got to minimize this for some reason to get it to. So he takes it from her. So they're fighting back and forth over this gold or soul. Huh, interesting. But yeah, I just wanted to point those things out. I know I kind of at the last point I kind of went down the Sumerian rabbit hole as I call it, but it's interesting to see it played out here even in Apex Legends, a game that I love playing by the way, and I'm gonna play on my other channel. So appreciate you guys watching this. This just kind of been a laid back um, hour of talking about all this stuff, more informal, no cuts or edits, just how I think about life. So let's see what happens. Let's see if this storyline does play out. Let's see um, how this works out. So yeah, Finn, it's really unless you actually you got to kind of start from the beginning and how it works. But it's Finn, if it all boils down to it, it's the male versus female, and the gold is our souls, and they fight constantly over the souls, which Christians would know as heaven and hell. And the Sumerians actually talked about it a lot better because they went way more into depth about how we were created, where we come from, things like that. Now, what we're seeing is we're just seeing this being played out over and over and over. And so, with what's going on in our world today, what you're seeing right now is basically with our leaders, Joe Biden. His name means God will increase, which is short for Joseph, which is also in the Bible. And then Biden is actually meaning button, or if you look at it, the duality that we live in, by, and then done. So done, or dweller down by the or dweller by the down, which the down is an interesting thing too. It means it's completely opposite. God will lift up, and then oh yeah, it does. Then I try to look at life in a different aspect. Um, I just try to look at it as we're in this predetermined play, and people who knows what's going to happen in the future give us little cues years in advance so that people who know what to look for automatically know what to do. And so when you sell your soul for gold, right, exactly, you're selling yourself for uh, things of this world. And the thing is uh, if you really want to escape this world or this hell, you got to basically not sell your soul for gold. I mean, you got to understand that all the things that we have around us are just things, materialistic things. And in order to get past the materialistic things is how you get past, you level up, I guess you would say in a gaming term, on your spirituality or who you are as a human being. Me personally, I think energy um, is what we call God. So I would call myself an energist. And I think what we call energy that can be neither created nor destroyed is what is running the whole show. I mean, everything, if you look, is energy. Whether it's inert or whether it's active, you have energy, and everything is energy. So our souls are energy. And what's happening is I feel like our souls are being jockeyed for. The gold is being jockeyed for, you know. Um, and so we just gotta, we're trying to bring ourselves around. Do you want to continually be stuck here, or do you want to move on to the next level in a gaming term, you know? And so with it, we just have to kind of look at life and say, okay, am I okay with not having a whole lot of things? Am I okay with not having a lot of money? Can I live like a minimalist? Right now, I'm kind of living like a minimalist. I still have a lot of things that I would honestly like to get rid of. The more I look at stuff, I'm like, okay, do I really need this or that? And unfortunate side effect is I really like to have things more on the computer side, but the reason I have things is because I love the creativity that people come up with. Like my screen, I love the fact that I have one screen and I don't have to deal with multiple screens and everything else. It's just one smooth curved screen. And my laptop, it's simple. It's not a desktop, but it still plays my games. I'm more of a techie nerd than anything. I do have a few too many other things that I've slowly, like with this whole COVID thing, I got rid of a lot of things. I'm trying to get rid of even more, but I like to tinker, and that's how a lot of my stuff ends up being. A lot of stuff that you really can't sell or get rid of, you just have to throw it away. And I'm not a hoarder by any means, but I don't like throwing away things that have use. Now, I'll throw stuff that has no use away at a heartbeat, but if you see, um, it's just a lot to take in. I'm gonna end it now because me personally, I want to play some games and not think about all this. But just look in the next few days of what's happening. Let's see what happens, and let's see if I'm correct on the thoughts about how this storyline might play out. Maybe it won't at all. I mean, maybe this will just go without a hitch, and 2024 is when we elect our first woman president, and maybe Joe Biden makes it all through 4 years. But I mean, he's an old fella, so. But okay, you ready to see some games, Finn? I am ready to play some games. Thanks for everybody for watching. If you watch this whole thing, appreciate it. If you're watching later after this live stream, appreciate it too. Just hit that like and subscribe. I have another gaming channel if you're into gaming. Um, and if you want to see that, just let me know. So, all right, I'm going to end this one. I'm going to switch over to the other ones and we're going to play some Apex.